Huckabee, social media queen's diamond himself, Journey's Jonathan Cain, and the voice winner Craig Wayne Boyd performs. That's Trey Corley in the Music City Connection. And I'm your announcer, Keith Bilbrey. And now, here's Mike Huckabee.
I fooled them tonight. They thought I was never, ever going to bring the song to a conclusion. One of these nights, I'm going to come out here and just let them do for about 10 minutes, holding that note and see how long they can do it before they just give up and quit. Let me tell you, there's one person who hasn't given up and just decided to quit. That's the president. I mean, what a week it has been. From Singapore summit with North Korea to the release of the Inspector General's report on the Justice Department's bungling of the Hillary email scandal, it has been a week in which we have seen the media stretch and contort more than a Mr. Gumby just to downplay the implications of all these stories. President Trump had the summit with Kim Jong-un in Singapore early in the week. And while most objective reports recognize the significance of it, there aren't many objective reports that come from the biased fake news force that follows the president around like a bunch of green flies looking for anything that's rotten. I think it's fair in saying that the framework of denuclearization agreed to is going to require a lot of detailed follow-up and verification. But the president made clear the painful and punishing sanctions don't ease up until there's verification. Now, we were able to obtain some early reactions from Kim Jong-un after he returned to North Korea. I want you to see how he reacted when he got back. He's so excited. Well, I got to confess that I found some humor in President Trump's video revealing what North Korea could look like by injecting a little capitalism into the hermit kingdom. Be honest with you, only President Trump could see the beaches illuminated by heavy artillery fire and somehow envision beachfront condos where the cannons once were. I tell you what, you can take President Trump out of the real estate business, but you can't take the real estate business out of President Trump, that's for sure. And big bombshell from the Department of the Justice Inspector General's report this week, 500 pages. I'm sure you read it all. It revealed that fired FBI Director Jim Comey went rogue in having his own press conferences about Hillary's emails. After hearing numerous Democrats on TV, you'd think they'd be thanking President Trump for firing him. And then there's Peter Strzok, the high-ranking FBI official who was carrying on an affair with a colleague with whom he shared over 50,000 text messages. And what he said to her regarding whether Donald Trump would be elected president was, no, he won't. We'll stop it. But he didn't. No, the voters were thankfully more powerful than a corrupt cop who tried to use his badge to change the outcome of an American election. Now, for more than a year, we've put up with a Mueller investigation. It's supposed to find out if the Russians tried to influence the election. So far, there's not one thing to show that President Trump had any collusion with any Russians. But we now know, and it's documented, that our own law enforcement officials colluded among themselves to rig an election. And if there aren't charges filed, and some of these folks aren't wearing orange jumpsuits, then I say open the federal prison doors and let the people out who have done far less to pervert our great republic than the thugs whose salaries we paid for. Cleaning up the Department of Justice isn't about helping one party over another. It really isn't. It's about protecting and preserving our constitutional process of equal justice under the law. The irony of the president meeting with Kim Jong-un this week was that we rightly criticize his being a law unto himself. But when officials in the highest levels of our Justice Department try to dictate the outcome of an election and act as if they were above the law, then they should be put under the jail. Well, President Trump's summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un is being called a potential turning point in history and a great step for world peace, even though his critics sniped that it was just a meaningless photo op where Kim got all the benefits and we got nothing. Well, I had a chance to visit with South Carolina Congressman Joe Wilson so he could help maybe sort out what it really means and where we go from here. The congressman is a senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Take a look. Congressman, it was quite a week, the president in Singapore with the summit involving Kim Jong-un. What do you think is the significance of this historic meeting?
Well, Governor, I think it is historic. It's also an indication of President Trump's success of peace through strength, and that's the reason the meeting occurred. And also we have a president that we know who promises made, promises kept. I was with you with the opening of the embassy in Jerusalem. We've had presidents make promises before. Now we have one who made promises, and we have Donald Trump who promised Kim Jong-un that he must disarm or there would be consequences.
There are a lot of cynics, as you know, Congressman, that say, well, but Kim Jong-un is going to be just like his father, just like his grandfather, so it's going to be same song, different verse. But it seems like the difference is not the Korean leader. The difference is the American president that he's going to have to deal with.
We have a president who is firm. You can count on what he says. And then there is a change. The dictatorship established by Joseph Stalin in 1948 in North Korea, we have a president who is applying sanctions that are making a difference.
And those sanctions have really squeezed North Korea. And they're a nation that I guess it would be fair to say they've been squeezed since they were created. They don't call it the Hermit Kingdom for nothing. They're under a lot of pressure and a lot of pain. And I have to wonder if Kim Jong-un maybe looked at that video that President Trump showed him about those cannon maybe positions becoming beaches with condos and said, maybe that's a better model for me.
It could have a message to him. And, hey, another example is for him to have visited Beijing, one of his first visits, and to see what capitalism, at least crony capitalism, can do. And then the ultimate would be Singapore. My goodness, to see the extraordinary development. And then another example that people should look at is Vietnam, to see their evolution into a capitalist society, and beaches that were at war now are developed, and just as you pointed out, with condominiums and opportunities for the people of the country.
What is the mood of members of Congress? I know that in your role on the committee that oversees these kind of issues and foreign affairs, there's got to be not just the public comments before the cameras, but behind the scenes, away from the microphones. And I'm not asking you to attribute it to anybody in particular, but just to give me a sense of what's the mood of members of Congress in reaction to the president's trip.
Governor, it's optimism. And I serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee, which actually people of both parties who are positive, and on the Armed Services Committee, people who want a strong national defense. And so there actually has been optimism, but there has been a reluctance, obviously, on the Democrat side to give the president credit. But it's so obvious that he gets credit for promoting peace through strength, for promoting a possible relationship that will bring safety to American families by reducing the potential of nuclear conflict.
The president has also been criticized harshly this week by those who say that his handling of immigration, and particularly the separation of children from their parents, is just odious. It's not that different than it was handled during previous administrations. Could you speak to that?
We have good laws that should be followed. And of course, what the president is trying to do is enforce the laws we have. And so when you hear about separation of families, this is actually a voluntary activity to create disturbance. And so The way to address this is to enforce the laws we have, let the people around the world know that we'll enforce the laws, we'll enforce our borders, as every other country enforces the borders they have. And so I'm proud of the president standing up and being very clear.
If you were to look down at the midterms, historically Republicans, or I should say whatever party is in power, typically will have a huge loss if their party has the presidency and the House. Right now the numbers are pretty tight. If you were to make a prediction for November, where would you land?
Republicans will do well. Hey, it's the economy stupid. And that is that we see a potential GDP growth of 4%. We have record number of people employed. The media is not going to cover this, and so, but the American people see it and feel it, and they know that they're more secure around the world with the relationships that are being established by President Trump. And so I'm optimistic. An indication of that in the primaries this week in South Carolina, twice as many people participated in the Republican primary as the Democrat primary.
Congressman, a great pleasure to have you on. Thank you, and God bless. Have a great weekend, and happy Father's Day.
Oh, and happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. My thanks to Congressman Joe Wilson for helping us cut through the spin on North Korea. Let's pray that Kim Jong-un is really sincere about giving up his nukes, at least this time. Whatever happens, it's good to know that we have leaders who hope for the best, but they prepare for the worst, and who refuse to let America get rolled. Now, if you want to keep up with Congressman Wilson, you can do so on joewilson.house.gov. Keith, we've got a really fun show tonight. Why don't you tell us a little about it?
I would love to. From the rock band Journey, Jonathan Cain talks about the influence of his father, plus headlines you may have missed, and singer Craig Wayne Boyd. But first, the queens of chit-chat, Diamond and Silk, will tell it like it is. Lots more Huckabee is on the way, folks.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's gotta.
It's what you say when you look around and you see somebody doing a thing that's got to be done, or when you find a person who simply is so passionate and so purpose-driven that they have no choice but to do the thing they do.
Join us on Remember the Music as we reveal stories of the greatest Christian music artists, learning about their beginnings, struggles, victories, and faith.
And I will be here. Great is the Lord, and I am on the rise. Give you praise to the Lord. I can never tell.
Remember the Music, only on TBN, every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
All right, during the 2016 election, my next guest became YouTube superstars, all with their sharp, hilarious, take-no-prisoners videos that were supporting Donald Trump and blasting the notion that African Americans are required to be liberals. They have laid the smackdown on everyone from Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg to smug Congress members. Here to talk about evolving political views in the black community during the Trump era are two real-life sisters from North Carolina, Lynette Hardaway and Rochelle Richardson. But you don't know them as that. You know them as Diamond and Silk.
Diamonds and silk. Diamonds and silk. Diamonds and silk.
Oh, wow.
Well, what a welcome these folks give you.
I know.
Incredible.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you all. We love you all. Oh, my goodness.
I've had so much fun watching you because you just mess everybody up, you know? You do.
I don't mean to.
But you do it in a loving and good way. How did it all start?
I was in my bedroom watching Donald Trump announcing he was running for president on my television. I called my sister. I said, girl, cut. I know it's turned on your TV. I said, cut on your TV. Donald Trump is announcing
Cut
he's
on
running.
your TV.
Yeah, Donald Trump is announcing he's running for president.
And I cut on my TV.
Yeah. And then she called me back halfway through. She said, girl, she said, this is going to be the next president of the United States.
Yes.
And she felt a chill. And anytime Silk feel a chill, that means something's going to happen.
Uh-oh.
That's right.
Yes, baby. That's how it happened.
Yes.
Hey, I want to know something, Silk.
Yes.
Did you feel a chill when you came on this stage?
Oh, yes, I certainly did. Yes, I certainly did. It's amazing. This is a blessed place, you all.
You either
It's
did or
amazing.
you lied about it well, and I appreciate it very much. You saw something going on before a lot of people did.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What was it about his message that you said, this touches me?
He said, I'm going to secure the border. And the first thing we thought, don't you secure your house?
Don't you?
Ain't the White House secure?
Isn't
then
it?
the border should be secure.
That's right.
Then he said, I'm going to bring back jobs. And I thought, why would our government outsource our jobs and leave the American people riding dirty? So it sounded right.
Yes, that's right.
You know, it's interesting that the jobless rate among African Americans and Hispanics in this country are not just the lowest in 10 years, they're the lowest in American history.
Wow.
More
Yes.
minorities are working today than have ever been.
Yes.
Why doesn't that message seem to resonate more with a lot of the people in the African American community?
Well, okay, can I just say this here? You mean some on the far left?
Yeah. Right.
Like the media. See, they keep pushing the narrative. If they keep making you seem like that everything is racist, we have to take down the statue.
Right.
We have to disrespect the flag. That's how they think they can now win an election. But what they didn't bet on is that this businessman came in and changed the game.
Yes.
People want to thrive in this country instead of barely surviving. They are so happy that we are prospering. They have more money in their pockets.
That's right.
And the left, I think they're going to be shocked. There is more black people coming off of that, what we call Democratic plantation, that Democratic thinking.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
they're going to be voting for Donald Trump.
That's right. That's right.
That's just how it
And
is.
don't forget, let's not forget, President Trump, at the time, Donald Trump said he would be the best job creator. And you know what? He is the best job creator.
Yes, he is.
Well, it's happened.
Yes.
Now, one of the fascinating things is because this just viral phenomena that you guys have become on YouTube, but not everybody's happy about it. Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook seemingly kind of shut you guys down, and Google that owns that owns YouTube. They were trying to kind of quash the videos.
Yeah.
What's
the status that you guys are in right now with?
It's still the same thing. We're still being suppressed. Our free speech is still being censored. You don't get to pull out your bully censorship whip and think you're going to whip us into silence because we don't want to go along with your liberal ideology. It don't happen like that with us.
That's right.
We can think for ourselves. We don't need you spoon-feeding us a narrative. We can say what we want to say when it comes to this president. We are very patriotic. We love this country, and we love this president. We're going to continue to talk about that. And listen. Facebook better get themselves together. Okay, they're going to be the face without the book and the book with no pages. Okay?
I'll tell you one thing. Girl, I don't want to mess with you. I know that sitting here talking to you.
Right. Yes.
Tell us about the first conversation you had with then candidate, now President Trump.
Well, I can tell you this. He was coming to North Carolina, and there was no way he was going to be there and we not be there. So it was arranged for us to be there.
That's right.
And we were able to be there, meet him backstage. But then here's the craziest thing that happened. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Because that night, during the rally, he invited us on his stage, and that's when we became
You didn't
famous.
know when you went that was going to happen.
No, we never met him or anything.
That's right. And one more thing, when he invited us on his stage, we did not take his mic.
That's
he
right.
gave us his mic.
And he stepped back and he let us say whatever we wanted to in
That's
front
right.
of all. It was so many cameras I couldn't count them.
Yeah.
And that was the night we endorsed him, and we told the world he was going to be the 45th president of the United States.
That's
we
right.
never
You were
wavered.
right.
Never wavered.
You were right.
Never.
I'm sure that with all of the love that you have from many people who are supporters of the president, you get a lot of angry reaction from people who say, you guys have sold out, you've been duped. I mean, I'm sure there are worse things that we can't say on television that has been said. How do you deal with that?
Well, listen, your haters make you greater, okay? You have to always remember that. And when we look at President Trump, look at what's happening to African American. I call him the civil rights president because he is, look at what happened with Alice Johnson, how he said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is over-criminalization, yes. We're going to grant her a clemency or we're going to let her pardon her or whatever. Let's look at things like that. That does my heart good. Listen, we had a so-called African American for 8 years, did not look at what was going on in Chicago, didn't care less about the African American needs what they were crying out for. He pushed what Hollywood wanted. He pushed what the Oprah Winfrey's and all of them wanted because he had to pay those people back.
That's right.
Well, you guys are right now in the middle of what you're calling your Chit Chat tour.
Yes.
I have a feeling this is kind of a low energy thing. You guys are going out calmly talking to audiences across America. I can visualize that.
Listen, what we're doing is the grassroots work. Now, they tried to shut us down on social media.
They tried.
So we said, you know what, we're going to take it to the streets and not burning down our communities, not standing up with signs, but we're going to talk to grassroots people because these are the people that get out and they vote. We want people to go out in these congressional races. We want you to vote Republican because Democrats have already told you we want to take away your tax cuts. We want to take away your money. We want to just hand you just something or nothing at all, okay? And this is what we do. This is what we're going to have to do. Grassroots work. Talk to people. Push them to the polls. Go vote, and make sure you vote for our president in 2020.
Well, one thing I don't worry about is whether or not we'll have any maybe doubt about where you guys stand. It is great having you here.
Wow.
Thank you so much for coming to our studio here in Tennessee and being with us. It is a delight to have you. And thank you for your energy and outspokenness. Just delightful.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You can find Diamond and Silk on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and we hope now that they've appeared with me, they might even be banned by the Country Music Association. You never know. But you can always find their videos, their blog posts, their T-shirts, and join their Chit Chat tour at diamondandsilk.com. All right, Keith, after Diamond and Silk, I just want to see what else we have coming up. Why don't you tell us?
Well, you won't be disappointed. Coming up, Journey's Jonathan Cain celebrates his career and his father. Then an insider's take on Washington from Congressman Cliff Stearns. Plus, Season 7 winner of The Voice, Craig Wayne Boyd. All on Huckabee.
The whole purpose of Operation Heal Our Patriots is investing in the lives of men and women that have received injuries on the battlefield. We're investing physically, emotionally, but more importantly, spiritually. We owe a huge debt to these men and women. Every couple, when they are baptized, what they're saying to the world is, I have changed. It's no longer me, but it's Christ.
God has opened up my eyes of how much he truly does care about me, because I could have been gone. My injuries could have been worse, but every day I thank him just for a second chance to become closer to him.
We want to strengthen their marriage, and we want to strengthen their faith.
To the TBM family, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your prayers and support. We couldn't do it without that.
Well, whether you're blessed to still have your father with you or have the opportunity to relive the great memories and moments that he left behind, there is no doubt about the impact of having a good father has made on all of us. The need for good fathers today, probably more important than ever. Fathers who teach, who discipline, provide for, and love their families. There's one man whose father did all these things and more, and his son grew up to be one of the most gifted musicians and songwriters in rock and roll music. You know him from his incredible work with the band Journey. His name is Jonathan Cain. Not long ago, I sat down with him and discussed his life, his music, and his father. The first keyboard that you really played was not the piano, wasn't the synthesizer, wasn't an organ. It was an accordion.
An accordion. Yep. I was so tiny, a little kid. I think I grew a foot in high school, you know. I couldn't get my hands around a normal guitar, and they didn't have the little, you know, junior guitars, and I didn't want to play a ukulele. And they put this accordion in my lap, and I fit, you know.
How old were you?
8.
8 years old?
8 years old.
Okay.
I was a little 8-year-old, though. And my dad said, well, we can't afford a piano because, you know, tuning and all that. And he said, but you can have that. So I said, if I can have this, I'll take whatever I can get.
I got to know, what kind of music were you playing on the accordion when you were 8 years old? Oh, Italian.
A lot of Italian music. I learned all of that. Of course, I learned Hava Nagila.
Yeah.
And I learned the Irish washerwoman jig, the Mexican hat dance.
Did you play any polka?
Of course. But it was a great way to find out the music that made a room light up, you know. And in the book, I talk about the first time I did a concert for these Italians, you know. And I declared right after that, it was in a deli that we lived above. And there's about 12 guys with their Perotti cigars. And I'm playing all these songs from their country. And they're getting up and dancing and crying and singing and laughing. And I said to my father, I want to do this for a living. Help me. You know, and he said, all right, John.
When you started with Journey, the band had been around, but you got into it and helped bring it back and actually take it to its highest places it had never been before. Did you see that happening? Did you see that coming?
I had no idea, you know, when I got up there that there would be chemistry.
Yeah.
And there was.
Boy, was there.
There was a ton.
Wow.
And I found out that Neil and Perry and all of us, we had a lot in common. You know, we admired the same things. And the first thing I talked to Steve about was his favorite hit records.
Uh-huh.
And he had some things he wanted to accomplish, you know. And the Beatles were having this resurgence. And the one thing that we talked about was, wouldn't it be cool if Journey could have a song that would last over 30 years?
The song, Don't Stop Believin', is somewhat of a metaphor for a side of you that a lot of people know nothing about, and they won't until they read the book, and that is that you are a believer in Jesus Christ.
Amen. Yes, sir. You know, my father instilled something in me. You know, he gave me an idea of what my character needed to be. He said, you're my son. You represent me. You represent my heart for life, my heart for God. I want you to walk like that, you know, and that's why he showed me the idea of praying at an early age, that I could handle it, you know. So going through life, as I explained that journey through life, Dad's always with me. I can't trace one note that I've played in my life that doesn't go back to both of my fathers, amen? And I never realized that until my dad passed. It was like, I sat at my piano, how am I ever going to play again? And then there was this epiphany. I got you. Play.
Well, I'm glad you're still playing. Jonathan, your music is phenomenal. It touches a chord in, I think, all of us who love the music of Journey. But your story is one that people will be surprised by, and I think blessed by, encouraged by.
I hope so.
And they'll appreciate the song, the band, and Jonathan Cain even more.
Thank you.
What a pleasure to get to visit with you. Thank you very much.
Well, I hope all the dads that read this will encourage their kids and see the uniqueness and lead them on.
And we need more of that relationship between fathers and sons more than ever before.
I hope it fires them up.
I can't imagine that it won't.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
Well, we wanted to hold that interview for Father's Day weekend. What a delightful conversation. My thanks to Jonathan Cain just for sitting down with me and sharing that wonderful story. By the way, you can pick up a copy of his autobiography, and it is terrific. Naturally, the name of the autobiography is Don't Stop Believin'. Get it through your favorite online booksellers or from his website, JonathanCainMusic.com. And don't let Jonathan Cain show you up. This weekend, be sure to tell your father that you love him. Okay, Keith, why don't you tell us what's around the next corner?
I would love to. Up next, you may have missed some news, and we've got that for you. An interview with Congressman Cliff Stearns. Then from the Secret Service to the Rolling Stones, Bill Carter's incredible life. It's all coming up on Huckabee.
I don't know about you, but I think honesty and common sense are all too rare today. And that's one of the many reasons we're so excited about the launch of Huckabee on TBN. Matt and Lori Crouch, along with Governor Huckabee, invite you to join a very special select circle of TBN viewers by becoming a Huckabee founder. Making TBN the home of Huckabee was a monumental step. This show is unlike anything ever attempted on Christian television.
I'm excited to be part of what Matt and Lori Crouch are doing to expand the reach and impact of Christian television in this wonderful country of ours, especially in these volatile times. But if we're going to succeed, I need your help, and I'm asking you to consider becoming a Huckabee founder.
Join us today by sharing a one-time gift of $1,200, and we'll say thank you by sending this remarkable special edition Faith for America commemorative flag with an engraved plaque acknowledging you as a meaningful reminder of your investment in this launch.
Well, how appropriate for Trey Corley and the Music City Connection to be playing Don't Stop Believin' as we finish our interview and bring back after Jonathan Cain. Well, from extremely ineffective carjackers to husbands coming home, I mean, like really late for dinner, like a year late. It has been quite an unusual week in the news. And this is your source for those stories that might have somehow snuck by your ever-watchful eye. It's time for In Case You Missed It. Alrighty, Dateline, Jacksonville, Florida. Christopher Raymond Hill robbed a Walmart liquor store and tried to carjack not one, but two cars, only to fail because of the Second Amendment. Oh, let me explain. When Hill tried to take Scott Reardon's car, Scott grabbed a gun that he had between the seats and raised the weapon to the knife-wielding Hill. The robber shouted, "Don't shoot me!" and he ran from the car. The robber then jumped into the car of a woman waiting in the Starbucks drive-thru. She exited her car, reached in the trunk, and, you guessed it, aimed her pistol at Hill. The robber took off running again. The first driver, Scott Reardon, told Jacksonville media, "These guys can talk about banning rifles and banning guns, but when it happens to them, they're going to wish they had one." Oh, and our thief? Well, he was found hiding in the bathroom of a Supercuts. I'll bet he was muttering to himself, "When they said the right to bear arms, I thought they meant sleeveless shirts." And from our In Corpse You Missed It, this is a big-time file. There's an old saying, dead men tell no tales. Well, that may be true for Davy Jones, but apparently someone forgot to tell a deceased husband near Tokyo, Japan, because he turned up at his wife's door nearly a year after she cremated him. I know what you're thinking. Konnichiwa. Now, you may think this sounds a little like The Walking Dead, but this is no zombie tale. Apparently, the wife and the family of this suburbanite from Tokyo identified a body the police had as the husband. Japanese police have fessed up and apologized for this extreme case of mistaken identity, and they have confirmed the dead man they gave to the wife was not her husband. Officers, may I just say, timing, fellas, timing is everything. Now, the only thing left unsolved, where in the sashimi was this guy for the past 11 months? I'm sure the missus won't be buying any, "Well, I was out with the guys doing a little ninja going, and I just got a little carried away." Come to think of it, this guy probably is part of The Walking Dead once his wife gets through with him. And finally, I've got some good news tonight. A few weeks ago, during this segment, we reported on the University of Texas launching a program to discourage traditional masculinity and to treat it as if it were a mental health issue. Remember that story? Well, that program has been temporarily put on hold. Masculine UT is currently being reviewed by a steering committee, that will make recommendations to the Vice President for Student Affairs. The program was referred for further clarification when it became clear that some of the communication and discussion surrounding masculinity did not convey the full intent of the initiative. Now, of course, this is going to delay the program becoming a promotional tool for transgender, genderqueer, and non-binary people who, quote, embody a diversity of masculinities, end quote, whatever that means, according to the program's description. So for the time being, gentlemen, you can put away your makeup and take off those stiletto heels. There's no reason to feel guilty about holding a door open, giving flowers, even helping an older person across the street. Just go a little lighter on the please, thank yous, and yes ma'ams for now. And that's why we call it In Case You Missed It, because we read the news so you don't have to. All right, in just a few short minutes, you've heard everything from resurrection to masculinity, and you could go head-to-head with anyone from CNN right now. But that's not saying much. But it is something, and all because you came to catch up on the news in case you missed it. Well, there is also an old saying that anyone who enjoys legislation or sausages should never look too closely at how either one of them are made, because it ain't pretty. As a 24-year veteran of the U.S. House from Florida, my next guest's personal accomplishments include the Do Not Call list and the Millennium Healthcare for Veterans Act. Now, to do that, he had to learn all the sausage-making secrets, and he reveals it in his book. It's called Life in the Marble Palace, in Praise of Folly. Please welcome Congressman Cliff Stearns. You served at Congress, and you were there when people were able to work together.
Right. We get along.
What's wrong with the bunch we got now?
Well, there's several problems, Governor. One is money is very much influencing a lot of the members of Congress. You know, the two decisions recently, the Citizens United in 2010, where independent expenditures can be done against a candidate and you don't know who is supporting it. And the second is the Buckley-Vallejo in 1976 meant unlimited amount of money can be spent. So what has happened in Congress, everybody's raising money, and they're taking money from all these lobby groups. They're influenced by these lobby groups. And what happens is sometimes they make decisions that are presidential to the United States and its citizens, but thinking about these lobby groups. So money is a big problem.
How do you fix that? I mean, I think all understand it, and I've had a lot of that dark money used against me in elections.
That's true, you know, yeah.
And boy, it's not pleasant, and you have no idea where it's coming from. You can't identify the source.
Who's supporting it, you know, who's
Well,
putting
how do
it.
we fix this?
Well, I think perhaps I would say repealing the Citizens United and actually try to put a limit on how much you can spend. For example, the Lincoln-Douglas debates, they had 5 major debates, and they went around the country. Well, if you have people running for the Senate, why not have debates and limit the amount of money and let the people see the debates and make that the focus and not all this mail and these videos and all this negative publicity.
I want to also discuss the fact that people sometimes, they go to Washington and they never, ever go home.
That's true.
You have a book called Life in the Marble Palace, which is obviously the Capitol.
Right.
What are the lessons that you hope people will learn when they read this book about the Marble Palace?
Well, I think one of the things they should learn is that there is indeed a problem with money in Congress, and also there's a problem with redistricting. A lot of members are in districts that are so Republican and so Democrat that they're always worried about a primary, and they're not worried about the general, so they don't willing to compromise. But I also talked about what makes America exceptional, and to try and make Americans understand that the Bill of Rights that came from the Magna Carta in 1215, this whole idea that we have a free country and a Bill of Rights makes it so exceptional. And there's 5 million people registered with the National Immigration Service who give everything they can to be here in this country. And so we have to educate the people on what's good about the country. But as I talk about the Great Recession with the TARP how there's no accountability when Secretary Hank Paulson spent almost $1 trillion of our money and bailed out all of Wall Street, how terrible that was. I was in charge of the Solyndra investigation where taxpayers lost $535 million, no accountability. And these type of things create this idea that there's a swamp and that there's a shadow government. And in truth, Governor, there is. And we've got to have a change. And I think to a large extent, that's why Trump got elected.
Well, I think your book is very timely. It's come along at a time when people are really thinking about what do we do to make this system work again? Because a lot of us feel like it's pretty dysfunctional. And I just want to observe, Congressman, that what I admire most is you haven't lost your optimism. You're not a cynic.
No, I'm not.
And a lot of people in this country have become cynics, and you're still speaking with a joy about America and an excitement. And I think that shows up through the book. You've done us a great service by doing it.
Governor, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Congressman. Congressman Cliff Stearns' book is a must-read for anyone who wants to know the inside story of how Congress really works. Again, it's called Life in the Marble Palace in Praise of Folly. You can order it at your favorite online booksellers or at cliffordstearns.com. Keith, we got to get this thing in for a landing here in a little bit. You better tell us what kind of adventures might yet be ahead for us.
Well, next, he's been everywhere, man. You don't want to miss Bill Carter's incredible life story. Plus, Voice Season 7 winner Craig Wayne Boyd sings. More Huckabee is on the way.
Today, investors share three main concerns: our $21 trillion debt, a market correction, and another crisis like 2008. And experts agree now is the time to take action and protect your savings and retirement.
This is a great time to begin diversifying your portfolio into things that will hold value.
Now is the time to put some money into undervalued hard assets like gold and silver.
You need to start thinking for yourself, and you need to take charge of your portfolio.
I'm Kevin Demerit, founder of Lear Capital. We believe smart investing is as much about preserving your wealth as it is about profit. Did you know in biblical times, 1 talent of gold was equal to 6,000 days' wages? And today, that same talent of gold is still worth 6,000 days' wages. Now that's what I call wealth preservation. This is just one more reason people look to Lear Capital for the industry's best precious metals research. Thank you for letting us into your homes and for watching The Mike Huckabee Show.
By the way, be sure to visit the Hillsdale College website and check out the great free course that they're offering on C.S. Lewis and his influence on our culture. As C.S. Lewis himself said, you are never too old to set another goal or dream another dream. So why not do just that by taking this free course online? Go to hillsdale.edu/C.S. Lewis. That's hillsdale.edu/C.S. Lewis. My next guest wrote a book that reads like the wildest novel ever. Except there's just one thing. It's all true. It's called Get Carter, Backstage in History from JFK's assassination to the Rolling Stones. Now that covers some landscape. He was here recently to talk about his incredible life. Here's my interview with fellow Arkansan, Bill Carter. Bill, great having you here, my friend.
Great to see you, Governor.
You know, Bill, I think you may be the most colorful human being I've ever known in my life. What a career. You started with the Secret Service. You worked right during the Kennedy assassination and was in Fort Worth dealing with the Oswald family immediately afterwards. So, I mean, what an incredible moment of history you witnessed firsthand.
And I just got back from the Texas School Book Depository where they did an oral history. They've been trying to get me to do it for years, and I did it by phone, but finally agreed to come back and do it on camera. And I felt a duty to do that because of the history I did experience in the assassination investigation.
And then you worked in the White House with Lyndon Johnson during his presidency for a while. And then, of all things, you wanted to go to law school, become a lawyer, and go back to Arkansas, and you became a very successful trial lawyer. And then you decided, well, that's not enough, so you become an entertainment attorney and represent the Rolling Stones and a whole bunch of other entertainment people. Good grief, Bill. What were you thinking?
Well, I never really thought anything. My whole life has been one of divine guidance. It just opportunities came my way, and I had, I guess, the courage to take advantage of those opportunities. But
tell me about Keith Richards, because you got him out of trouble on more than one occasion.
He's the most honest person I may have ever met. He's the same person 24 hours a day. He never changes. And I think that's really important. He also is nothing like his image. A few years ago in 2008, Keith called me one night and said, I'm coming to Nashville. I want to get together with you because I'm writing my book, his biography of his life. And he said, you know, my mind's a little fuzzy.
I wonder why.
So Keith was a heroin addict for a number of years, and we were successful in curing him from the use of heroin. But so he came to Nashville, and we spent the day talking about some of those events that he couldn't recall. And he asked me that day what I was doing, and we were just visiting, and I said, well, I started a foundation in my hometown of Rector, Arkansas to help disadvantaged kids. And that's pretty much what was said. Well, he went back to New York, and in a few days, the office called me and said, are you going to be home Wednesday? You're going to receive a package, you'll have to sign for it. Well, that package was a guitar from Keith, signed with a letter of authentication and a photo of him signing it, to donate to the foundation in Rector, Arkansas. That guitar brought $100,000 for the kids.
Wow. Wow.
And no other Stones bothered sending me anything. It was just Keith. But that's who he is.
You had remarkable negotiating skills, and when the Stones wanted to come to America to do concerts, they were banned back in the 70s, and you took what you knew from being a Secret Service agent and protecting a president. You put a plan together, presented it to the State Department, and said, here's how we can do concerts that won't turn into a bloodbath and a riot. And they accepted it.
The Stones had Harvard-educated lawyers in New York and Washington, D.C., and I call them the Harvard blue suits. And I went to the University of Arkansas to law school, so I was... so they all referred to me as a hick lawyer from Arkansas. Now, how did I do what those big, powerful law firms couldn't do? You'll understand this because I was born in Rector, Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
And I had common sense. The second thing I had was Congressman Wilbur Mills.
Yes, I remember.
He was my mentor. He referred the Stones to me, and he referred Jimmy Hoffa to me as a client.
And where is he now? Do we know? Go ahead. Tell us, Bill. We've been waiting for 45 years.
Unfortunately, I talk about it in my book, and I believe the mafia story that the mafia hit him and did away with his body, cremated it, and did away with it in Detroit.
And I just want to say, I was not saying anything unkind about the mafia. They're a great bunch of people. Nothing wrong. Go ahead. And you've represented people from Reba McEntire. You helped her in the early stage of her career when she took off and became a worldwide sensation. We've talked about the Rolling Stones, but at the other end of the spectrum, one of the people you've worked with most and have been a producer for is Bill Gaither.
Yeah.
And the Gaither Homecoming.
Absolutely.
Now, that's kind of crossing the arc there, Bill.
Well, Gaither always introduced me, so this is Bill Carter. He started out with the Rolling Stones, and he's now with the Gaither family. So he's headed in the right direction.
Well, I'm going to tell you, people who have never read this book, they really should get it. I picked it up a few years ago, read it, and it was one of the most fascinating, fun, entertaining, and insightful reads. And one of the things I loved about it is what you mentioned before. It's a lifetime of genuinely caring about people and using the kind of common sense that you grew up with in a small town and realizing that that's probably better than the best Harvard or Yale education that a man could have.
You know, I consider myself very blessed to have been born in Rector, Arkansas, to poor parents. And when I finished high school, I was on my own at 17. That was the rule in my family. They couldn't afford the kids to hang around. So that to me was the foundation of my character, my life, and I'm so grateful that I did grow up in a poor, small town in Arkansas. And I know it did great things for you as well.
It has. I wouldn't trade my upbringing for anything in the world.
Absolutely.
And you're a fascinating guy, Bill.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I love you. You're a dear friend, and I'm so glad you're here. I love that guy. I'm going to tell you something. We barely touched on all of the jaw-dropping stories from the amazing life of Bill Carter. Now, I have a feeling you want to learn more, and you can get your own copy of this Can't Put It Down autobiography called Get Carter. Visit him on the web at BillCarterOnline.com. That's BillCarterOnline.com. Keith, I know you also know Bill Carter. I just have to wonder, how are you going to top a Secret Service agent, lawyer, entertainment pro like Mr. Bill Carter?
Well, Bill Carter never sang with the Rolling Stones. Coming up, the winner of The Voice, Craig Wayne Boyd, performs on Huckabee.
Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee, and I'm here on the campus of Hillsdale College. You know, it's no surprise that in our schools today, the idea of objective morality is under siege. Too many of our children are being taught that it's hopeless to define a right way as opposed to a wrong way to live, and their only guide in life are their feelings. Well, there have been few people in all of history who have argued more effectively against moral relativism than C.S. Lewis. Let me invite you to Hillsdale College's free online course, An Introduction to C.S. Lewis, taught by Hillsdale College President Dr. Larry Arnn and his distinguished panel. You'll discover why this prolific author is widely considered the greatest Christian apologist of the modern era. Go to hillsdale.edu/C.S. Lewis. That's hillsdale.edu/C.S. Lewis. And sign up for this free course today. America fell in love with my next guest as they voted him the winner of Season 7 of The Voice. Would you please make welcome Craig Wayne Boyd. Craig, great to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
That must have been an incredible experience to go through that process. But what an amazing thing to have the people decide that you're the winner.
You know, that was probably one of the more intense moments ever in my life. I knew that if I could get to the people voting, that I might have a chance at it. And once that happened, I felt like I hit my stride. And thanks to the good Lord above that, I was able to achieve what I did.
Now, in the process of that, Blake Shelton, who's done okay for himself, I think that's probably fair to say. But he was kind of your coach on The Voice, and I think there was some great advice that he shared with you. What did Blake say to you, and what advice did he give?
I think one of the coolest things that he said to me was, trust my instincts. Because I had started second-guessing what I was supposed to be doing. And when you do that, then you start reaching for things that maybe not are your true path. And once I started really paying attention to just trusting what my gut told me to do, including even singing the Old Rugged Cross like I did on there, that was something that I felt really strong about. And I did that, and it sure helped.
And I want to encourage you to follow Craig on his website. Go to CraigWayneBoyd.com. Find out about his music, his concerts. He may be coming near you. And you can pick up a copy of his latest CD. I just told you about it. I'm telling you again. It's called Top Shelf. And you need to get it and put it on your top shelf. Here now to perform his latest hit, Somewhere in There. Put your hands together for Craig Wayne Boyd.
Might be the second you come down the stairs and I'm out there picking you up. It might be before I open that door and help you climb up in my truck. It might be when the sun comes on and you're lost in the radio. I don't know when, but all I know is my lips are gonna land on yours, your hand's gonna slide in mine. One's gonna lead to one more is gonna turn into all night. Between the sun going down and it coming back around, you can bet if I'm with you, I'm gonna kiss you somewhere in there. Oh, somewhere in there. stumbling over all my words. Or it might be when the bus kicks in and I finally work up the nerve. But if it ain't until I take you home, sitting in your drive, baby, that's alright. If it takes all night, my lips are gonna land on yours, your hands gonna slide in mine. One's gonna lead to one more's gonna turn into all night. Between the sun going down and it coming back around, you can bet if I with you, I'm gonna kiss you somewhere in there. Oh, take it away. You just know it when that moment's right. As soon as those blue eyes give me that green light, my lips are gonna land on yours, your hands gonna slide in mine. One's gonna lead to one more's gonna turn into all night. Yeah, my lips are gonna land on yours, your hands gonna slide in mine. One's gonna lead to one more's gonna turn into all night. Between the sun going down and it coming back around, you can bet if I'm with you, I'm gonna kiss you somewhere in there. Oh, somewhere in there. Somewhere in there. Yeah, somewhere in there.
That was fantastic. And there is more great music from Craig Wayne Boyd. Check out his performance of Better Together on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Huckabee on TBN. youtube.com/Huckabee on TBN. Our thanks to Craig Wayne Boyd, Congressman Joe Wilson, Congressman Cliff Stearns, our friends Diamond and Silk, Mr. Bill Carter and Jonathan Cain. Join us next week. We're going to have music from Rockland Road. We've got magic from America's Got Talent phenom Eric Jones. And our good friend Shonda Pierce goes to mermaid school. Nothing fishy about that. And my exclusive interview with President Donald J. Trump. Until then, good night, God bless you, and to all the dads out there, happy Father's Day.
Join us on Remember the Music as we reveal stories of the greatest Christian music artists, learning about their beginnings, struggles, victories, and faith.
And I will be here. Great is the Lord, and I am on the rise. Sing your praise to the Lord. I can never tell.
Remember the Music, only on TBN, every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.